Today is Tuesday, April 5th. We're talking about a global outcry over apparent war crimes in Ukraine and what new consequences are coming for Russia and Russian oligarchs. Also, a new major report about climate change with warnings and suggested solutions. Plus, a compromise on Capitol Hill for new COVID relief money. Elon Musk made another bold move on Twitter, and why this year's March Madness victory was one for the history books. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Leaders all around the world are demanding Russia be held accountable for what they say are clearly war crimes in Ukraine. It's more reaction to the horrifying images that have come out from the area around Ukraine's capital, showing the aftermath of cruel attacks and ongoing torture against civilians. Now, Ukraine's president says some of the carnage we haven't seen could be even worse. One top U.S. official says there's little doubt all this is, quote, part of a broader troubling campaign, that the brutality was part of Russia's plan. And the Human Rights Watch organization says this could be just the beginning. So how is the world making sure Russia is punished? Well, for starters, the U.S. says it's supporting an investigative team that includes American experts. They're collecting and analyzing evidence of war crimes. And President Biden says there should be a criminal trial over this, perhaps even against Russian President Putin. Then there's economic punishment. The president of the European Parliament called for more immediate sanctions against Russia, saying this war needs to be the costliest mistake the Russian government has ever made. America's national security advisor says the U.S. is also going to announce even more sanctions against Russia sometime this week. Stay tuned. Remember last month we told you the U.S. Justice Department launched a task force to make sure Russian oligarchs face consequences. Oligarchs, as in wealthy people with political influence. Well, that task force just seized its first luxury yacht. It was owned by a Russian billionaire with close ties to President Putin. And American investigators say he's been using U.S. banks to support and maintain the yacht, even though he's been sanctioned. In other words, it's against the law. They say until now, he's been getting away with it by using shell companies and money laundering techniques. But the U.S. Attorney General says this will not be the last seizure from the American task force. And already, since the invasion started, Spanish, French, and Italian authorities have seized super yachts as well, along with other assets from Russian oligarchs. Because Western leaders say those are the business leaders who have helped finance the war. A new landmark report from the United Nations is calling for drastic action to rein in global warming. It says the world is on track to warm to a crisis level, leading to more dangerous heat waves, floods, and storms that would impact millions of people. But the UN report also made it clear it's not too late to avoid that. And it laid out the steps countries, industries, and regular people can take right away. For example, number one is to grow renewable energy and cut down on fossil fuels. Second, the report calls for cutting-edge approaches like technology that can actually suck greenhouse gases out of the air. But to be clear, that technology has a long way to go before it could make a big impact. Third, it says we need to change the way humans work, live, and eat. Like cities can be redesigned so people live closer to where they work, and there can be more investments in bike lanes and public transportation. Buildings could become more energy efficient, and people could plant more trees and eat less meat. By the way, a summary of this report was approved by all 193 countries in the United Nations. The next time the UN puts out another report like this will be in 5 years. So the report's co-chair says bluntly, quote, "It's now or never." It seems Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill have reached a deal for the next COVID-19 relief package. But it's not exactly what President Biden had asked for. The White House requested $22.5 billion in emergency funding. Well, Senate negotiators agreed on a bill worth less than half that. All $10 billion of it is set to go to agencies within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, mostly for more vaccines, treatments, and testing. There's also some money for researching and developing vaccines for future COVID-19 variants. And all of that will be paid for with money that was not used from earlier spending bills. What's not included, though, is any more money to help other countries deal with the pandemic. After this compromise, top lawmakers from both parties say they'll vote for it and they hope to pass it by the end of this week. It was the largest comeback in national championship history. The Kansas Jayhawks bested the North Carolina Tar Heels to take home the top prize in men's college basketball. But for a while there, it really looked like Kansas was going to lose. At the end of the first half, North Carolina was 16 points ahead, but Kansas came back strong, eventually winning 72-69. This marks the Jayhawks' fourth national title in school history. This time around, the college town of Lawrence was prepared for the massive celebration. Several streets were closed to cars last night just so the fans could flood them. And they did. Jayhawks fans will likely keep celebrating all week until a parade that's not planned yet, but expected this weekend. More news is coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. Finding and booking a doctor who's right for you doesn't need to be a terrible experience. Will they take your insurance, understand your needs, or be available when you can see them? With ZocDoc, the answer can be a refreshingly pain-free yes. No more wasting time tracking down your brother's cash-only chiropractor or the dentist your coworker recommended but who's actually out of your network. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. The verified patient reviews allow you to see what other real humans had to say about their visit. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc, and I'm one of them. And now, so is the executive producer of this show, who recently said she had a great experience with ZocDoc. So whenever you need to find and book a doctor, go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is now clearly on track to become the next Supreme Court justice. The Senate passed a procedural hurdle yesterday. All 50 Democrats and 3 Republicans voted to move her nomination forward. Senate leaders say the official vote will be later this week. So, unless anyone has a big change of heart before then, it looks like the final decision will come down 53-47. And that's enough to get Jackson on the bench. If she's confirmed, as expected, she'll take over for Justice Stephen Breyer, who plans to retire this summer, and she'll become the first Black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. A judge struck down a California law that was the first of its kind in the country. The law required public companies in the state to have a certain level of diversity on their board of directors, what some have called a diversity quota. Well, now a judge ruled it's unconstitutional. California's governor signed that law back in 2020. It said publicly traded companies based in California must have at least one racially, ethnically, or otherwise diverse director by the end of 2021, and even more by the end of this year. The list of underrepresented communities included people who are Black, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, and LGBT. And companies that did not comply could face stiff fines. Supporters argued it would give people from diverse backgrounds a seat at the table where decisions are made. But critics said it violates the Equal Protection Clause of the state's constitution. And now, a judge agrees. The state could still appeal the decision. For now, though, the diversity requirements are on hold. The maker of the hit game Fortnite raised $144 million in relief money for Ukraine in just 2 weeks' time. Video game developer Epic Games, along with Microsoft's Xbox, announced it would take its Fortnite proceeds from the last 2 weeks and donate to people affected by Russia's invasion. And get this, the game raised $36 million in its first day alone. Overall, PC Gamer says this looks to be the single biggest financial donation to Ukraine made by a U.S. company so far. So now, the money will go to several aid groups. American billionaire Elon Musk is now Twitter's largest shareholder. It was just revealed that he bought around a 9% stake in the company last month. And as of Friday, CNBC says his shares were worth nearly $3 billion. For years, Tesla's CEO has been one of Twitter's most famous users. Right now, he has more than 80 million followers. But some of his tweets have landed him in hot water, like in 2018, when the SEC hit him with $20 million in fines for reportedly misleading investors with tweets. And at times, he's even raised questions about the platform itself. He asked his Twitter followers if they feel Twitter allows free speech, and when most said no, he asked what should be done about it. He also tweeted last month that he's thinking about starting up his own social media platform. It's not clear yet what Musk plans to do with his shares, but one analyst told CNBC that given Musk's recent talk online, he could eventually try some sort of buyout. And if he did that, maybe then he could call for change within the social media giant. Either way, once the news broke about Musk buying these shares, Twitter's stock soared about 27%. The Wall Street Journal reports that's Twitter's biggest ever one-day gain. It seems 2021 was a breakout year for cryptocurrency. At least that's according to the crypto platform Gemini. It asked nearly 30,000 people across 20 countries about their crypto buying habits. It learned crypto ownership nearly doubled last year in the US, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. but that developing countries like Brazil and Indonesia really led the way in embracing crypto, perhaps because their local currencies have been devalued. And this trend is expected to continue no matter where people live. The survey says 41% of those asked around the globe are crypto curious. Basically, that means they're interested in it or plan to own cryptocurrency in the next year. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, this podcast is sponsored by KiwiCo. Springtime is the perfect time for kids to make new discoveries, like how caterpillars turn into butterflies. KiwiCo is such a great way to help your kids have the type of hands-on experiences in STEAM topics that will spark curiosity and inspire creativity. From rainbows to rocket ships and everything in between, KiwiCo has a subscription line for kids of all ages, so you know their experts have picked out the perfect items and projects for your child's readiness. We got our first KiwiCo when my son Dax was just an infant, and I remember our pediatrician complimenting us on one of the toys I brought into the office from our KiwiCo crate because it was so well designed for his particular age and development. And now it's fun to see how the KiwiCo crates change alongside him. So step into spring and celebrate the season of discovery with a KiwiCo subscription. Get 30% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with the code newsworthy at kiwico.com. That's 30% off your first month at KIWICO, kiwico.com with the promo code newsworthy. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, what's the most expensive home in the world? You can answer the question and play along with us on Instagram. Just find and follow us at NewsworthyPod. Look for the trivia quiz in our Instagram stories today. As for last week's trivia question, which country did bagels originate from? The answer is Poland. And some legends say bagels were first invented as a tribute to Polish royalty back in the 17th century. Well, it morphed into one of America's most popular breakfast items. In the U.S., bagels arrived with Polish Jewish immigrants of the late 19th century. Even then, though, they were mostly just bought in Jewish niche markets. They didn't really hit the mainstream until the 1970s. Then, by the mid-90s, bagels were a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States. All right, thank you so much for listening today and every day. Be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button on your podcast app. It helps you see whenever there's a new episode so you can stay informed. And a special thanks to the Newsworthy Insiders for all your support. We'll be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.